Greetings, folks. This is Charles Goodman, and I hope whoever you are, you're doing well. As you may already know, I am your host of the Area 4 AM News Podcast Network. Today, we're going to talk about a case that has been making headlines across the internet. This short news podcast contains alarming content, and viewer discretion is advised. Suzanne Morphew was from Alexandria, Indiana. She was an avid biker and liked to stay in shape even after overcoming her second cancer battle. In the spring of 2018, she and her husband Barry moved to Salida, Colorado, where they purchased a $1.5 million home with their two teenage daughters so that their older daughter Malory could attend college. Their younger daughter Macy would go to high school. Suzanne and her husband Barry had been married for 26 years, and it seemed that they were the perfect couple. Barry owns a successful landscaping business and is a volunteer firefighter. He likes to trap and hunt in his spare time. It was about 6 months ago in May of 2020 when tragedy would strike the family at the core when reports said that 49-year-old housewife and mother of two, Suzanne Morphew, would go for a bicycle ride and never come home. It was Mother's Day, Sunday, May 10th, and Suzanne Morphew would mysteriously disappear without a trace. Her two daughters, Malory and Macy, would sound the alarm bells. The girls were out of town, and when they tried to contact Suzanne to wish her a happy Mother's Day, they got no response. That's when they called their father, Barry, who was out of town in Denver, working on a landscaping job, repairing a brick fence wall on a city walkway. When Barry got the call, he was in a Holiday Inn hotel room, and it was about 5:30 in the evening, so he contacted a neighbor who performed a welfare check at the Morphew home. The neighbor reported to Barry that there was no answer at the door, but Suzanne's car was there. Barry then asked the neighbor to check to see if Suzanne's bicycle was there. After the neighbor reported not finding Suzanne's bike, the sheriff's department was contacted by the neighbor, and Suzanne was reported missing at about 5:45 p.m. So Barry calls two of his employees, Jeff and Morgan, who were in the process of heading to Denver to work on this brick fence wall, and he tells them that he has a family emergency and that he was leaving, and I guess it was about 6 o'clock p.m. when he made the 3-hour drive back to Salida. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Salida. He arrived at about 9 p.m. and joined the search for his missing wife. Barry later told a YouTuber named Tyson Draper that after his 9 p.m. Sunday night arrival, Suzanne's bicycle was found about a quarter of a mile from their home, off the road and down a hill by a creek. According to Barry, he and a friend, a former Army Ranger, watched in horror as sheriff's deputies removed the bicycle from the area without checking for fingerprints or doing any kind of forensic evaluation, and he claimed that this might have botched the scene. So Barry is talking to Tyson, and he doesn't know that the conversation is being recorded. And he also tells Tyson that Suzanne could have been carried away by a mountain lion or maybe abducted while riding her bicycle down the roadway. About a week after her disappearance, Barry released a 25-second video pleading for Suzanne to come home. Let's take a listen.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
Oh, we're going to continue to we're going to continue to piece together the evidence along with breaking down his body language to reveal if her husband is involved in her disappearance.
Now, according to a guy named Derek Van something or another in a YouTube video he made called "Does Body Language Prove Suzanne Morphew's Husband Was Involved in Her Disappearance?" Derek claims that he can tell that Barry is lying by looking at his eyebrows and studying the way that he shakes his head back and forth. And I personally find it hard to believe that any sort of information can be gleaned from this short 25-second video. To me, it looks like the video has been pre-written and practiced and rehearsed. I'm no body language expert, but I think this video is useless as far as trying to glean any information that would point us into any direction concerning whether or not Barry is telling us the truth. And I agree that some of you will disagree with me. If you do, just leave your comments below. So as the days would follow, police and volunteers launched a massive search for Suzanne Morphew. They used dogs, drones. The FBI was called in. The Morphew home was extensively searched and processed by crime scene technicians. The brother of Susan Morphew, Andrew Mormon, flew in from Indiana, and with a large group of volunteers, he launched his own search for his younger sister. According to Mormon, he does not believe that Suzanne is still alive, and he says he wants to find her and bring her home to be buried in her home state of Indiana. Barry has been under a lot of scrutiny by Suzanne's family since the day she disappeared. Police have not named him a person of interest. Mormon believes that Suzanne met with foul play and doesn't think that she ever went on a bike ride on the day that she was reported missing. Now, because nobody saw Suzanne riding her bike that day, I want to hit the rewind button and take a trip into the days that led up to her disappearance. And we can start with the last person who saw her. On the night of Friday, May 8th, according to one of Barry's employees, Barry started working on the riverfront property located on County Line 105 Road, which is about 15 miles from the Morphew home. This was an unfinished residential construction site where Barry and his employees were laying dirt and cleaning up a beach area. The next day, early Saturday morning, the day before Suzanne was reported missing, Barry picked up an employee named Morgan, who said Barry brought her to the job site and told her to rake the beach area. Morgan said she planned to work all day, and according to what she told Fox 21 News, Barry told her to stop working at 11 a.m. and said he was taking her home because he had to spend some time with Suzanne to do some hiking or biking. So according to Morgan, Barry was in town all day. And according to phone records, Suzanne's cell phone activity had abruptly stopped on Saturday around 4 p.m. She had been text messaging back and forth with a friend about an upcoming wedding that was planned for her friend's daughter. Suzanne's brother, Andy Mormon, told Dr. Phil that Suzanne was seen in town with Barry getting a sandwich around 4 p.m. And according to Mormon, around midnight, Suzanne's Facebook account was used to friend a number of men that he grew up and went to school with. Now, it's unclear what type of machinery was being used on the riverfront property job site, but an elderly woman living close by told Fox 21 News that she was awoken in the middle of the night sometime between Saturday and early Sunday morning by what she described as a loud construction machine. So if you remember what I said earlier, the riverfront job site was a place where Barry and his crew was working on Saturday, and that's where Morgan was brought in to rake the beach area. This was a construction site of a residential home that was like half built, and if I had to guess, I would say that Barry was probably hired by the construction company that was actually building the house, and his job was to come in and move dirt around or dig some holes or something like that and work on the beach. But this is the Morphew home, and as you can see, it's about 15 miles, 19 minutes away where this construction site was. And this is where the neighbor reported hearing the loud machinery in the middle of the night. Let's go ahead and take a look at a news broadcast.
We've had river accidents, nothing like this.
Mary Branson lives off of County Road 105 on the east side of Salida. Investigators searched there for 3 days, looking for any sign of Suzanne Morphew. Did you ever talk to any of the investigators?
They came here and talked to us. They interviewed us and asked us the same questions you've been asking me.
She says investigators used tractors and special equipment that could see through the cement.
They were digging quite a few places. They had like conferences, they'd have there must have been 10, 20 people investigating.
Mary and her sons learned that the construction next door was a job site for Barry Morphew, Suzanne's husband.
They searched the whole place, I think. The garage, they had all cement in that, and they tore, I thought, almost half of that up. That was a big doing.
But she does remember something strange, a loud noise in the middle of the night on Mother's Day weekend.
Very first, I thought maybe some truck, I don't know, anybody be parked in my driveway or something, but no, then it just kept running, and it just seemed in the same direction I know it was over there, and I've been hearing all this noise for, like I say, quite a while.
Mary says she has a good memory, but is hard of hearing. She says the noise had to have been really loud to have woken her up.
I've been hearing those machines for quite a while, and I thought it sounded like one of them running, and I sat up in bed and I said, it is one of them. What's going on? This time of night, that's ridiculous unless they had orders to move it or something. So I lay there and listened. It kept going and going and going for about a half an hour. I finally got up to check, and as I opened the back door, it stopped. Just so I thought, maybe they were just moving something or what, and so I did not go out to investigate.
At the end of May, when investigators left the search site, they said they were unable to make any connection to Suzanne's case at the time. Chaffee County Sheriff hasn't said anything more about it publicly.
Wow. So this elderly woman who's hard of hearing hears these loud noises in the middle of the night, loud machines. At first, she thinks it's a truck pulling in to park in her driveway. And it just keeps running and running. The thing about this situation here is, if there's anything that I find puzzling in this case, this is probably about the most puzzling thing that I find about this whole case. And one of the reasons is because after all of these months, 6 months, nobody has ever come forward and said, hey, that was me driving that loud machine during the middle of the night. So that's puzzling to me. Does it look suspicious? Yeah, I would say that looks a bit suspicious. The noise lasts for about a half hour. At some point, she gets out of bed to investigate, but the noise stopped, so she went back to sleep. Later on, as many as 20 investigators searched the site, but find nothing related to Suzanne's disappearance. That's something to think about there. So Barry says he last saw Suzanne on Sunday at 5 a.m. before he left for Denver to prepare the brick fence wall so that his employees could start Monday morning to work on it. Apparently, this fence wall was a job that Barry was contracted to do about a year before. And I think it might have been the city or something like that. They hired a big company to do this job who subcontracted it out to another company. And it just so happens the owner of that company was a friend of Barry's. So he subcontracted the job out to Barry. And then Barry hired a couple of small-time contractors to go out and erect this brick fence retaining wall along the city sidewalk. And apparently, the job was botched. It came out, it was like all crooked and stuff. It wasn't built properly. So Barry was contacted and told to go out and relick his calf, so to speak, on the job. And originally, from what Morgan said, the job was planned for April, and then it got bumped up into May. So Barry left his house at about 5 a.m. He would have arrived in Denver by 8 a.m. Sunday morning, Mother's Day. He rents a Holiday Inn hotel room, and he's there until about 5:30 p.m., and that's when he's contacted about Suzanne being missing. He then calls his two workers, Jeff and Morgan, who are actually en route to the hotel from Salida, and tells them that he has a family emergency and has to return home, and for them to come there and get ready to start working on this job on Monday morning, and that he would leave tools for them to do the job and also have a big load of bricks delivered to the job site. According to Jeff, I believe his last name's Puckett. Jeff Puckett said they arrived at the hotel room. There were wet towels on the floor, and the room had a strong chlorine smell to it. I don't know if they meant like bleach or chlorine. It's hard to say. But according to the hotel, Barry first said that it might have been something that they used to clean the hotel room, but according to the hotel, they use some kind of peroxide to clean the rooms. They don't use bleach. And nobody was swimming before they went to the room because the swimming pool was closed because of the coronavirus. So Barry makes the 3-hour drive back to Salida. He arrives about 9 p.m. and joins in the search for his missing wife. And later, Morgan talks to Barry on the phone. He tells her that Suzanne is missing and she may have been attacked and dragged away by a mountain lion, and they are going up to the mountain on Monday, first thing, to try to find her. He told her and Jeff to start working at about 11 a.m. on Monday, and he would have a load of bricks delivered to the job site. According to Morgan's news interviews, she said the bricks were never delivered, and the tools that Barry left them at the hotel were not the right tools to do the job for the fence wall. She said that it looked like Barry just took tools from his truck bed and emptied them out onto a hotel cart. So none of the tools that were left there were the proper tools to work on this brick fence wall job. So because they didn't have the proper tools and the bricks never came, Morgan and Jeff went home on Tuesday. Morgan says she was later approached by two acquaintances of Barry who told her that they could give her her paycheck, but it might look like hush money, and told her that she has rights and that she did not need to give her telephone to investigators. Okay, this is really strange, because if what Morgan is saying is true, why would Barry care if she handed over her phone to investigators? What could possibly be on that phone that Barry would not want investigators to look at? Something to think about. Morgan says she did talk to investigators and she did give them her phone, and that Barry sent her a text message the next day firing her. She went on to say that she is now scared of Barry and she decided to leave town. A website called Crime Online has reported that less than a month after Suzanne's disappearance, Barry filed a petition for guardianship of Suzanne Morphew, deeming her incapacitated under Indiana law because she cannot be located under responsible inquiry. The website says that according to a document that they obtained, Barry Morphew is requesting to sell real estate property in Indiana on behalf of Suzanne, who is the joint owner of the property. Let's talk about this property a little bit. According to a post that I found on Reddit, and this is something that I already suspected about this property in Indiana, this house had a sale contract on it, and it was from a year prior. And this is why Barry had to file the paperwork for the legal right to sign for Suzanne on her behalf, because the sales contract was for a day in June, and the buyers could have sued Barry if he didn't follow through with the sale of the property. So I guess this isn't all that suspicious. Apparently Barry and Suzanne owned multiple rental properties in Indiana. And according to family members, they said that they recalled Suzanne saying that the couple was planning on selling at least one of them. On October 5th, Barry put the couple's $1.7 million home up for sale. This is the one in Colorado. It's on Puma Drive, and this is their main residence. So, I think this is going to wrap it up for our Missing Colorado Suzanne Morphew podcast. I think we still have a lot to talk about here, as well as many questions like why Is Barry Morphew selling the family's home in Colorado? And why didn't he join in on the many searches for Suzanne? And why did he order Suzanne's brother Andy and other searchers away from his property? So I hope you will stay tuned for part 2 of this podcast. And until then, I will see you on the flip side.